Hey everybody! Asking students strategic questions has been an essential part of teaching as long as there have been teachers. Questions are used for many purposes, in many ways, and appear in almost every aspect of teaching. In this video, I'm going to explain the importance of follow-up questions in your questioning sessions. English conversation in an academic setting more closely resembles an interview or an interrogation rather than a relaxed, free-flowing exchange of information, ideas, and opinions. One way to change this is through the use of follow-up questions. In my opinion, conversation is like a good game of ping-pong. We often ask short questions of each other and reply with follow-up questions. This keeps the conversation moving back and forth and keeps both parties interested and involved. A conversation is not an interview. It's not a meeting at which people talk in order to ask questions or get information. A conversation has two parts, listening and speaking. To be a good conversationalist, you must learn how to listen and speak well. This means that you must be able to both ask and answer questions. But that's easier said than done. Here's how I accomplish it in my classroom. I accomplish this through the use of the two-question rule. This means to follow a question with another question that either probes for deeper understanding or more information. It's my philosophy that no good answer goes unquestioned. I'm an elementary school teacher, and research indicates that using lower cognitive questions with greater frequency is the most effective questioning technique for primary level children, especially those who are struggling with comprehension and understanding. So my goal for follow-up questions is twofold. First, I want to create an environment where a high incidence of lower level questions is appropriate. I want students to feel that asking more questions is okay and better. Second, I want to ensure that when predominantly lower level questions are used, their difficulty is such that most will elicit correct responses. The idea is to build automacy and fluency, not critical thinking skills, because that will come later on. In addition, we use follow-up questions when we are listening. We do this to show that we are interested or surprised, to show the other participants that we are active in the conversation. When I'm creating conversation questions for my students, I use question stems that utilize WH questions. WH questions ask for information. We expect an answer which gives us information. We don't use yes or no to answer these questions. So this gives us a bit of information that we can grab onto to form our next follow-up question. One of my favorite parts of follow-up questions is that we often use reduced forms of these WH questions. We use them in conversation because the speaker and listener know what they're talking about already. So for example, you might say, "Hey, where are you going?" They would answer, "I'm going to the shop." "What for?" "To buy bread and milk." Instead of, "Where are you going?" "I am going to the shop." "What are you going to the shop for?" "I am going to the shop to buy bread and milk." These reductions make your conversation faster, easier, and more enjoyable. If you ask someone, "Who do you like to eat fried chicken with?" you might follow up with a question like, "How old are they?" "How long have you known that person?" "Where do you guys usually eat?" Or even, "Who pays?" When you ask someone, "What food do you like more than chicken?" an easy follow-up would be, "Can you cook it?" When you ask, "Where do you like to eat fried chicken?" you could ask, "What season is the best time to eat it?" If you ask, "When did you last eat fried chicken?" you could follow up with, "Where was it from?" If someone asks a why question, like, why do you like fried chicken? You could follow up with, why don't you eat fried chicken more often? When someone asks you, which do you prefer, spicy or soy sauce chicken? You could follow that question up with, how about original or honey mustard? If someone asks, how many pieces of chicken do you usually eat? You might follow up with, which piece do you normally eat first? Questioning is a very complex and multifaceted skill. Here are a few things to keep in mind while planning your next questioning session. First, make sure you ask one question at a time. Don't overload students or steal their chance to stretch their answers. When teachers are most excited about their teaching, they often push ahead and ask too many questions at once. Instead, help students focus on answering one question at a time. Furthermore, your questions should be clear and concise. You don't want to ask someone to tell you about their favorite meal. You want to ask them, what would be included in your favorite meal? When would you want to eat it? Where would you want to eat it? With whom would you want to eat it? Also, your questions should progress from the concrete to the complex. By starting with narrower and more fact-based questions, this jogs students' memories of the facts and the details necessary to help them answer the broader questions more insightfully later on. Finally, their success from answering simpler questions will give them the confidence to answer more challenging ones. One thing to remember is that you don't have to use the two-question rule or follow-up questions for every student or every question. Research over the years has found that by asking that second or third question, even 10 to 15% of the time, students start to expect it and begin to think more deeply before they answer, anticipating that added question. And one last number to leave you with. Research indicates that questioning is second only to lecturing in popularity as a teaching method, and that classroom teachers spend anywhere from 35 to 50% of their instructional time conducting questioning sessions. So, if you're going to be spending so much time doing something, you might as well be doing it well.